Fantastic Four. So Marvel finally released Fantastic Four, the MCU version of it. Did it live up to the hype? Was it worth the wait? Are we glad that Disney acquired 20th Century Fox? Don't know. Let's talk about it. So like I mentioned before, this is the first time Marvel has had the opportunity to finally do a proper Fantastic Four movie. Fans like myself have been eagerly waiting for the Marvel's first family to make their debut. Now, one of the caveats that I've always had, and a lot of people have, is how do you introduce Marvel's first family into the MCU? There's a lot has happened, and Reed Richards, the smartest man in the world, hasn't been around. If he was around, maybe a lot of things would have turned out different. So Marvel basically played it safe and put them in another universe. I did find it ironic, however, that when Marvel finally has the opportunity to put Fantastic Four in the MCU and we have a proper introduction, let's just put them in another universe and make it different. I found it funny. I'm sure there's a plan somehow, even though I find that lately the Marvel movies have no plan at all. But I still have a little bit of faith in Marvel and that they're going to turn it around. So when we meet the Fantastic Four, we see that they're already established as superheroes. Everybody loves them. It's kind of like a dream scenario that I'm sure the X-Men would love. You have posters everywhere. Everybody's praising them. You see a little montage of them using their powers and kind of just doing the whole superhero thing like, thank you, you're welcome, citizen. Basically, this tells us that life is great and pretty much perfect for the Fantastic Four. We quickly learn in the opening that Sue is indeed pregnant with Franklin Richards. Now, this is the first introduction of Franklin Richards in any live action adaptation. That is a character that I am very excited to see what they do with, because this kid is uber powerful. For those that don't know, he is an Omega level mutant, which pretty much means that he is very, very powerful and can do pretty much anything he wants, like anything he can imagine. Basically, he's a reality warper. He cannot actually create the universe that we see now, but he can alter it to his will. And in the comic books, he actually is known, now this is a future scenario, but he is known when Galactus actually dies in the comic books, he brings him back to life and Galactus becomes his herald. So yeah, he's very powerful. We see later the family gathering for dinner, and like I said before, it's very, very much of a perfect scenario, and the movie itself is set in the 60s, and you kind of see what could be for the Fantastic Four if the world was perfect and everybody loved them and they didn't really have any problems. Now, part of me as a comic book fan didn't like that, because in the comic book, the Fantastic Four have always had problems. Just like every character in Marvel, they always have some kind of handicap or some kind of real-world situation that leaves them relatable. In the comic books, they're always arguing or disagreeing or just kind of bickering between each other like a normal family does. Ben always struggles with the look that he has because, unlike the rest of the team, he cannot change or turn his powers on and off. His physical appearance is completely altered and he struggles to exist, honestly. He's always in some kind of depression. And while depression obviously is not a good thing, it's good for his character because it's very relatable for a lot of people, and it just makes him a lot more human, even though he doesn't look human anymore. Also with Johnny, he actually is a hothead in this movie, no pun intended, and he is very much of a woman's man, but he is very different from Chris Evans' portrayal as Johnny Storm, because to me, Chris Evans' Johnny Storm was spot on, as Johnny Storm has always been. This Johnny Storm is not a daredevil. He's very much the comedy relief, but he is not always trying to pick up chicks. He is very much a ladies' man, but he's not always trying to pick them up. But they are infatuated with him to a degree. And I will add that this is the first time I've ever seen Johnny actually be smart and intelligent. Because you got to remember, he is still a scientist, and we never truly get to see Johnny being smart or making like really smart decisions or anything like that, or like making that sacrifice play that even Captain America talks about. Now, Sue in this movie, she is definitely the mother of the group, obviously, but she is like the glue that holds everyone together. And that really reminded me of the comic book version of Sue Storm. I really appreciate what they did with this character, and I really appreciate what Vanessa Kirby brought to the character. Not only does she look exactly like Sue Storm, but she really embodied that motherly, comfort, supportive, grounded Sue Storm that we all know from the comic books. Now, yes, Sue Storm has gone through changes throughout the decades and started from all the way back from the 60s until now. So I feel that she really did honor the character by showing a classic side to her, but also bringing somewhat of a modern twist, but not a modern twist to where you didn't recognize her or she becomes just flat out annoying. Now, I will admit, first and foremost, I did not like Pedro Pascal's casting as Reed Richards because I do like Pedro, but I did not support him as Reed Richards. However, I will say, I think he did a really good job in his acting because I think Pedro Pascal is actually a good actor. He was just not my personal pick for Reed Richards. With all that said, he did a great job. The only thing is I did not really see a true brilliance out of him. In the comic books, when Galactus comes to Earth and there's nothing the Fantastic Four can do to actually fight him, ultimately Reed makes a deal. And this is where he really could have shined because he could have outsmarted Galactus instead of overpowering him. Now, even though they did not technically overpower him in the movie, they really could have shown Reed's super brain and showing how he can actually outsmart a cosmic being. Now, of course, there was a MacGuffin that in the comic books, there was an item called the Ultimate Nullifier that can pretty much destroy anything and everything. And that's ultimately how they got rid of Galactus. Reed threatened him with it and then eventually outsmarted him. So obviously they did not have that item in the movie. That kind of would have been a little bit of a stretch, no pun intended. And so the way they got rid of Galactus truly made him look weak and made the others look stronger, which I wasn't disappointed in the Fantastic Four looking stronger. I was disappointed at how easily they got rid of him. And even though Sue Storm struggled and ultimately sacrificed herself to save not only her baby, but the rest of the world, it still made Galactus look weak. We're talking about a being that is older than the actual Marvel comic book universe itself. I will also say that I had my reservations on the female Silver Surfer because literally Shia LaBeouf was only the Silver Surfer in one comic book in one page. It was really a what-if scenario where Norrin Radd and Shia LaBeouf were both Silver Surfers. It wasn't like a what-if where she became Silver Surfer and he stayed. But ultimately, even though I didn't think it was a good idea, it actually worked well because she didn't have a lot to do. They didn't focus solely on her, and she did actually act like a Silver Surfer. They did show a little bit of her backstory, which did not show Norrin Radd. It was more of she was like a single parent, and which was odd because they could have at least teased Norrin Radd if they didn't want to show his face that this was an alternate universe to where Norrin Radd stayed behind and she became the Silver Surfer. Gotta give mad props to Galactus, man. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, but Ralphie Neeson, he was absolutely brilliant as Galactus. When I learned that they actually made a practical suit to where it was actually him doing the performance as Galactus and it wasn't just motion capture, that just blew me away. And you can really see it too because yes, there is a lot of CGI in this movie, which CGI is not a bad thing, but as long as it looks good. But you don't want it to be a crutch. You don't want it to rely on it. You want to do as much as you can practically, but then also add some CGI touches. He was absolutely brilliant, and you can tell, not in a bad way, but you can tell there was moments where he was actually walking around miniatures, and that just looks so good because, again, with the practical effects blended in with some CGI, it is really, really well done. The entire story of this movie definitely centers around family. You hear that as a joke nowadays with the Fast and Furious movies, but this one actually really got to the core of family. While Sue was doing the heavy lifting at the end, the others literally played their own role in pushing Galactus into the portal. As far as what I did and didn't like, I think I pretty much covered everything. Look, all in all, this was, again, Marvel's first time using the Fantastic Four and having the full rights to do pretty much whatever they wanted. Was it a hit out of the park? Unfortunately, no. Now, while I don't think this was a bad movie, I believe that the fans are actually losing hope and losing faith in Marvel and Kevin Feige. This movie definitely deserves to be doing better in the theater than what it has been doing. And again, while I don't think this was a bad movie, it definitely wasn't a great movie. It did have its ups and downs, and I think one of the leading factors is that we did not get Norrin Radd as the Silver Surfer. Does that mean that if he was the Silver Surfer, would it have been a great movie and he would have saved it all? No. I do believe all the characters do need a slight tweak in their personalities, and maybe in further incarnations of other movies when we see them appear again, maybe they will actually embody the full characters. For the first go around, I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was great, though. Did I think it was fantastic? Almost. Considering Marvel has been on a literally downhill slope lately, ever since Endgame, I think this is easily one of the better projects that they have done. Is this enough to save Marvel? No. Because we know what Marvel is capable of. We know that they can put hit after hit after hit, and that is what they have done in the past, and that is what we expect. However, lately they have been doing the exact opposite. Now, you can put whatever reason you want, poor writing, poor casting, poor management, whichever. Ultimately, this is one of the better movies. Do I think the MCU will ever be as good as it was? No, I do not. There has been talk that they're going to reboot everything after Secret Wars and Doomsday anyway. So to me, that was not a good announcement because most people are not going to want to watch after that, if there's anyone watching right now. And according to the box office, no one's watching. Well, that about does it for me, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you like this movie? Did you hate this movie? Were you kind of just in between? Is there anything that I missed? Any critique that you have? Please tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.